Okay, there we go. Hey guys, so you know the deal. I put it down in the description. We are going to be talking about wrongful imprisonment and just how cops suck because that's what we do here. This is Robert Durden. Robert, he is an amazing dude. He does the Political Fight Club. If you haven't seen it, go check him out. I put his link in the chat, and when I'm done with the show, I will go ahead and put it in the description down below. Um, you want to tell us a little bit about your show before we get started?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me, by the way. It's a real honor. My show is kind of like, I don't know, you're familiar with like the concept of trolling online. That's kind of what I do. Like, I'm a comedian, I write satire, and I like to go out and kind of do the news while simultaneously making fun of a lot of like dopey politicians or other people that are, commentators in politics. So what I basically do is I troll the neolibs as best I can, whilst also covering stories which I think are interesting. I do it all from my basement, and at first it was just kind of me sitting in front of, I just lost my job last year, and I didn't have much to do with my time, so I decided to basically bitch into a mic about things that I would otherwise be, talking to myself about as I walk around the house. And what ended up happening was is that my news videos did very well, but the videos where I like would specifically go after the squad or make fun of another, lefty commentator that's doing bad work took off. So in a way, I was like, okay, so the people like when I kind of go out and make fun of people. So I kept that. And now basically like 80% of the time, I'm just kind of riffing, talking about the news. But every once in a while, I like to do like little roasts and go after, people on substance, of course. But, like TYT, I relentlessly go after them because they're, they commit slander and they're basically propagandists. So like, I'd like to put in a little bit of comedy and a little bit of roasting on my politics, and that's kind of what I do. It's what I do naturally, and I really just kind of enjoy it. It's kind of my therapy, so I'm just going to keep doing it.
You are really good at it. You give me the giggles all the damn time.
Oh, thank you,
And
thank
it's
you.
like, yes, that's exactly what I think too.
Yeah, and the thing is, it depends on where your ideology is. Like for me right now, because I make fun of exclusively the Democrats because they're in power, and a lot of like lefty YouTubers. The people that really like me are far lefties, like yourself. Humanists who really care about Medicare for all and getting student debt relief and stuff like that. And then I also appeal to people on the right who just like listening to me make fun of Joe Biden all the time. So that's right now who mostly watches me, and neoliberals hate me. But here's the thing, when the Democrats lose, because it looks pretty inevitable, right, that the Democrats are going to lose the midterms and probably the presidency in 2024, those same Republicans who love me are going to hate me because I'm going to just eviscerate the Republican Party when they take power again. So that's kind of what I do. I'm like a political asshole, a professional political shit talker. That's what I do.
You are amazing at it.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy.
Oh, goodness sakes, we've got some people up in here. I'm going to say hi to the chat really quick. So, Ion Entertainment Network, amazing people. Bob is blind. I'm not sure exactly how it happened or whatever, but he is one of the coolest freaking people and one of the bravest people I've ever had a pleasure to meet. Um, they used to talk about mainly just what was going on in the news. I think right now they're doing stuff about like more Hollywood side of it, but I'm not for certain because I haven't been over there in a while because I suck. Um, let's see. Chris Powers, that's my boss right there. We were just talking about him. Amazing guy, amazing guy. He's like us.
Cool.
He gives a shit about people. He really does, and
It's
it's
a
an
comrade
amazing
of
group of
mine.
people. We've got some really great people. I have two computers going, like one way over here, one over
Yeah,
here.
this is why I haven't quite transitioned to doing my own interviews yet. I'm just such a tech dinosaur, and I really operate my show mostly from my iPhone. So I'm like intimidated by the idea of having to run something like this. But I am transitioning. I'm gonna start very soon, and I haven't even told anybody this. This is brand new news. I'm going to be transitioning to Rockfin almost exclusively here in the future and doing a lot more live streaming. Now that I've gotten a lot of followers on Rockfin, believe it or not, my Rockfin is growing way faster than my YouTube because they put me on like the worst algorithm ever on YouTube. And don't worry, I earned it. I I should definitely be on that algorithm. I'm fringe content as far as like the things I talk about. I understand that, but I think I'm going to be transitioning here pretty soon because I just I'm too afraid of censorship and getting extra strikes on what I already have on YouTube. So I'm going to eventually start streaming from Rockfin here pretty soon.
That is really fucking cool. I'm not a huge fan of Rockfin. I prefer, like, I don't know, TrueTube, but
Sure.
Oh my fucking god, Fluke Dog, dude! It's good to see you. I'm sorry, he's my buddy from over in England, and I hardly ever.
Oh, cool. See him. Awesome.
So I just had to spaz. Anybody wants to put their link up in the chat so that other people can subscribe to them, please feel free and do so. I don't have a problem with that. If somebody could go up to the top of the chat though and grab Robert's link and repost it, that would be great. So I need to grab my phone because this is where I have all my notes at. And these guys are totally used to me fucking the dog for 20 minutes just to get to where I was an hour ago, and it should only take me 5 minutes. It really should, but it doesn't because that's me. Oh, come on. Okay, so we're going to talk about wrongful convictions, and this is really frustrating for me because I have a brother who's in prison, and he's been there since 1986. He will never see the light of day. I barely remember what he looks like. I mean, I was 6 years old 5 years old the last time I saw him. So, I'm not 5 anymore. I'm old now. So when I see this kind of thing, and I believe he's a wrongful conviction,
mm-hmm.
Like I truly believe that. And so if the cops only solve 2% of crime, and anywhere between 2 and 10% of those people who are in prison right now are wrongful convictions, they're innocent people, then I mean that puts the numbers really, really, really freaking high. And I've got it right here, but why can't I find where I was at? I don't know.
Yeah, we put to death something like 4 or 5% of innocent people. 1 out of 20, basically, is from what I've read and from what I've heard on other shows. And yeah, of course, I'm 100% against the death penalty. But also, it is insane. We do imprison a lot of innocent people, and there are a lot of people that are in prison right now for things that they're technically guilty of. That they broke the law, but they shouldn't have been put in prison to begin with because the laws are stupid. How many violent drug offenders are in jail right now? Lee Camp wrote a really great article about 3 months back talking about how the vast majority of people that are in jail or prison right now are, either wrongfully convicted or they're awaiting trial. You know what I'm saying? They're in jail but awaiting trial because they can't make bail. And there's also an enormous amount of nonviolent drug offenders. I mean, by the hundreds of thousands. And he broke it down really well in this article that it was like, basically, 60, 70% of people that are imprisoned in the United States really shouldn't be in there. And an argument can be made for something like 90%, depending on what your criterion is for what you're going to put people in jail for. So it's insane. We're the most, imprisoned population on the planet. I think we have something like 25% of the globe's imprisonment is in the United States, something like that.
That is correct.
It's ridiculous.
All right, so anywhere between 46,000 and 230,000 inmates are innocent.
Right.
And there's 2.3 million that are incarcerated right now.
Right. Yep. Like 10%. Yeah. It's insane. It's insane. And in any other country that, other people look at this country and they go, that is draconian. It's, antiquated. Why would you ever do things like that? And yet you still have, more than half the country going, well, we're the freest country in the world. How? Look at the data.
Right. It's freaking disgusting. And if you guys have not heard of, oh my goodness, where's that? Why do I keep doing this to myself? Oh, the National Registry for Exonerations and Wrongful Convictions Statistics is a great place to go and get some decent information, especially for here in the United States. But we put to death, I can't remember what the number was, and I'm not seeing it here. Oh, in 1989, we put to death 375 people who were, after the fact, found innocent.
Wow.
That's a lot of fucking innocent lives taken.
Wow.
And just a couple of years ago, there was a young man down south who they literally were waiting on some evidence to be returned. Like some, I don't know if it was a fingerprint thing or what, but they were waiting, or maybe it was DNA. It was literally coming back. It was due to come back the day after his execution was scheduled. And the governor down there would not stay his execution. And the following day, guess what? They found out he was innocent. They murdered that kid. And he was young. He was in his 20s. Like, what the tiny fuck?
It's horrible. And yeah, we act like we're some sort of like bastion for human rights in this country. I mean, and it goes, beyond just the death penalty, obviously, and like broken windows policing puts, Black and brown people disproportionately at risk for becoming harassed, brutalized by police, and also ending up as a part of that system. They arrest them for something like, as they put in Matt Taibbi's The Divide, just fitting the description is a good enough reason for them to pick up people of color. They, black bag them, take them in, whatever. Sometimes literally black bagging them and putting them in vans back in the day. And they take them into the
still doing that today. I'm look at during the protests and stuff. That's literally what they were fucking doing.
Right. And what they do is they don't have a good reason for ever approaching, much less arresting these people. But what they know is that if they go into certain parts of low income communities, that if you just pick up enough black and brown people, you'll just catch them with a little bit of weed on them, or catch them with an unregistered weapon or something like that. So they just assume guilt to start off with, corral a whole bunch of people, and just see what sticks. And then those people, because they happen to be from, low income areas, they often can't make bail. They get stuck in the system. And the system is so tedious as well, in that a lot of times it requires you to spend a lot of time going to the courts to defend yourself. So they force people into plea bargaining because it's so tedious and so expensive, and therefore inaccessible for poor people to actually defend themselves against this system. So what they end up doing is they essentially get a whole bunch of people that otherwise would never have been arrested to admit that they did something in exchange for a plea deal. And then you have a conviction on your hands, or you have a, felony on your record, or not a felony, but, not always necessarily a felony. But then you have a strike on your record, and you really have no reason to have ever been approached by a police officer in the first place. And they do that by design. So it disproportionately affects black and brown people. But nowadays, it's just really it's just poor people. A lot of even low income poor people that are white are seeing the same treatment now in America.
In rural areas, it's predominantly white people that are really getting fucked with. But of course, that's where it's predominantly white. I know here, well, actually, throughout the entire West, natives are like #1 fucking on the hit list for cops. And it's disgusting, and it really pisses me off. Another thing that really is frustrating is the fact that Native American women and girls, 6,800 go missing every year, but only 120 are placed on a registry for missing persons.
Yeah.
6,500 people go missing of this certain race, and only 120 of them are making it onto a registry for missing persons. There's something deeply fucking wrong there. And it is not an oversight. It's not something that, it was a mistake. That's too big of a fucking number for it to be a mistake. It is purposely fucking done. Just like, they spent millions in just a matter of a couple of months looking for that one lady's fucking fiance that murdered her.
Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie.
millions, fucking millions. But they wouldn't spend one extra dollar looking into Christina something, the lady that was found dead in the back of the van, the police van in Huntsville. Christina something.
I'm blanking.
Me too.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point there. And I want to say exactly what I mean here. There are certain ways to make rich, affluent white people feel scared. If you ever seen like the movie Nightcrawler, a lot of times what the mainstream media will always run with stories that have to do with violence or disappearances of affluent white people, specifically because they know it instills fear in a lot of their like donors and a lot of the more affluent people in this country. And that allows the establishment wiggle room with increasing police budgets and stuff like that, because if they can get all of their wine tasting moms, soccer moms very afraid, all the time that there's all these violent crimes happening against white people, then they will therefore be in favor of beefing up the police budget because they want to stay protected, right? So in a way, it's a mechanism. And that's part of the reason that the mainstream media will focus on stuff like that. Now, there's also like racism also baked into the cake, because we're in such a capitalist society that the police, inevitably, a lot of them are a little bit racist. We know this.
Even the ones of color are a little bit fucking racist.
Right. So it's also baked into the cake. But the mechanism, and part of the reason why somebody like Gabby Petito in that case is so highlighted compared to all of these other disappearances and murders, is because it's a weapon to make sure that the very, very, very minute, like highest class of white people in this country maintain some sort of fear that they're always in danger of everybody else. And then you can beef up the police budget, because they're really just kind of the watchdogs of the elite at this point anyway, the guard dogs, if you will. They're more like the professional defenders of the PMCs and mostly the elites. So, and if I may, part of the reason, this is only marginally related, but it's one thing I wanted to talk about since we're talking about this stuff on this show, is part of the reason I think that like the Ghislaine Maxwell trial right now, for instance, is not being televised nearly enough, and they're doing their best to kind of keep it out of the ears and the eyes of the Americans, versus the Rittenhouse trial being pasted everywhere, is because the mainstream media knows that certain stories are really good for fanning the flames of hatred. And the Rittenhouse trial, in a big way, was really, really good at separating the proletariat and the poors against one another, because it was like right versus left, pro-gun versus anti-gun, white supremacy versus, not white supremacy, stuff like that. So it was almost like it was designed in a way. It wasn't, but it was, it's almost like it was the perfect storm for turning a bunch of poor people against each other. And I saw a whole bunch of people tearing at each other's throats over that story. Now, conversely, the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, I don't know if you saw like the Ghislaine Maxwell trial tracker on Twitter got banned, but beyond that,
they're back though.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw. Yeah. But there's been a lot of censorship, and they're trying as best they can to get this trial over with quickly and without a lot of people watching it. Why is that? Why is there not nearly as much mainstream media focusing on the Ghislaine Maxwell trial? Because it would foment hatred, but between the poor people and the elites, who are the people that were really sick and that were in that black book and that were in fact doing horrible things to minors. Now, I don't want to name names. I haven't even been really watching the trial all that much because of other things to do. But the reason that I believe that the Ghislaine Maxwell trial is being kept as hush-hush as possible is because it implicates the elites. And that's, in a nutshell, what we do as far as our mainstream media in America right now, is that we will always run with more inflammatory, more divisive, and culture war-based stories. And we will definitely keep any stories that implicate the elites for their psychopathic behavior as hush-hush as possible. So I take that for what it is. I know that's only tangentially related to what you were talking about, but I was thinking about it earlier today, and it's drastically different the way that like Rittenhouse was covered versus the way that Maxwell is getting covered.
There is a if you go onto Instagram, I posted it on the regular post, so it's permanent. It's there. There is a phone number with a several digit code that you can call in, and you can listen to the entire hearing live.
You
You
can.
just can't
Cool.
like watch it. But I did post that information on Instagram. I should have posted it over on Twitter, but I wanted to call myself and be able to listen and
Yeah.
have way too
I
many people being like, "Oh, I want to listen to that." So
I have not been listening to much of it live. I have been getting recaps from a guy, another YouTuber who I trust, who does legal analysis, named Radislav. So shout out to him. He's been doing great work. He does a lot of legal analysis. He covered the Petito case. He covered George Floyd as well. He does
is
a
he
really great
on? Is
job.
he on YouTube or
He is, yeah, Radislav.
spell that?
And Rodeslav, I believe. But yeah, he's done a great recap, and I'm on day 2 right now, and I'm actually going to take a couple of days off and catch up here over the next couple of days. I got 3 more episodes to do, and then I'm going to really catch up on the Maxwell case.
Yeah, I think it's a really important case for people to be paying attention to, and I think that there's so much other shit going on, like bitches, like complaining about who's wearing what braids. Get over your fucking selves and let's pay attention to the shit that is important, that is impacting lives on a very deep fucking level, destroying lives on a very
Yeah,
deep level.
I agree. There's
There's
way too many. Yeah, way too many people talking about nonsense. Like, I'm not saying that there's, like, for instance, I'm not saying the Rittenhouse case is not important. It's a very important case. But I would love to see the Maxwell trial get the same coverage and also the same amount of conversation amongst everybody that one did. And
there,
that's just simply never going to be the
people
case.
like what happened with the trial watch fucking uh, Twitter account today. I mean, it going down. That's what happens. No matter where you talk about it at, your video is going to get pulled. You're going to get flagged. You're going to get stopped in the middle of the live feed because you said COVID or because you said Maxwell or because you said fucking Donald Trump. It's like, what the
Oh,
flying
it's
fuck?
so bad. It's so bad.
Say
Like,
one bad word about Biden and they shut you the fuck down.
yeah, yeah, and as we were talking a little bit before, I that's part of the reason why I'm going to be transitioning more to Rockfin now, because I'm terrified of getting strikes, and I'm on some people's radar now, so a lot of people are looking to flag me,
Yep.
and I've been getting extra strikes on stuff that I didn't get strikes on 2 months ago when I said it, so I'm going to be transitioning a little bit for that reason. I don't know if you saw, like,
somebody's got it out for you and they're reporting your shit.
yeah,
And
yeah, I
making
mean,
fake claims. There is one of the claims that will literally it'll knock out your live feed as soon as
yep.
within 30 seconds of them fucking hitting enter, it'll knock out your live feed. It's
Yep, and I can't deal with that. But it's a broad picture here. You guys saw that the Convo Couch was recently taken down for their coverage of the Honduras elections. Now, I don't know why. I don't know for sure that that's what it was, but I think we can all assume that's kind of. I mean, they were talking about Nicaragua and then the Honduras elections and how there was fraud and how it was made very difficult for people to vote and stuff like that. And they were on the ground, and then suddenly they go down. So, and it goes back. I mean, Franco's been taken down from Frank Analysis. He's been taken down for talking about COVID. I've been taken down for talking about COVID.
and you're a fucking doctor, for fuck's sakes. What the flying fuck?
Right,
dude?
right. And I never give anybody any advice that I don't back up with, like an article that I literally have in front of me, like a journal article or a study, or if I'm talking about vaccines, and I won't say it more than once, I don't ever use, like, I tell people how they work and how I learned in grad school how they work, but I'm never going to give them, like, advice without, and I'm not going to give them advice, period, but I'm never going to talk about them without having some study in front of me. And it's so weird that they just, like, they'll knock you out for something like that. It's a little bit scary. I mean, if you know what's really going on, if you know specifically what they are going after, which is like, yeah, like I just said, the schmack schmeens, the jab. If they talk about Shmulian Shmashmanj, you can't say that. Can't say that. You immediately get taken down. And then, of course, U.S. kind of meddling in foreign elections is another one. And I can't say any of that on YouTube anymore. I mean, really, I can't go into any depth without getting taken down. So I'm going to be making a transition, and it is scary. It really is. Like, these channels are teeny tiny, and yet they're just dropping like flies, getting taken down for a week here, 2 weeks there, just for, basically voicing our opinion and bringing receipts. So, like I said, land of the free, Not so much. Not so much.
No, we're not. No, we're not in the slightest little bit. We've got some awesome freaking people in here, and I just want to especially shout out Chris CCC. Woman, I texted you. I'm going to be in Philly, and if I don't get to see you, I'm going to be really angry. Just wanted to make that known. Breezy and A ladies in here. We got some awesome people in here. Road Dogs, his first time in here. If I could get somebody to please go and grab Robert Durden's link and pop it into the chat, that would be really, really great. He has a channel worth checking out. I watch like every day, like 3 times a day. Yeah.
Oh, you're making me blush.
I only leave a comment like here and there though, because most of my comments are really just inappropriate. I'll type them in and be like, wait, no, stop it.
And the thing is, they're making it, and I don't know how this is happening either. They're making it harder and harder for me to read my own comments now. Like, I feel like it's like a lot of stuff. It'll say that there's a bunch of comments, and then I'll click, and it'll be like half the amount of that it actually shows. So I don't know. There used to be also people that would comment on almost every video that they still comment, but it's like 1 out of every 5 videos so far. So I don't know if they're like not watching quite as much or if their comments are just being censored. It's weird, man. Like, we're in a weird time right now, and it feels very clandestine, and it feels like very calculated in terms of the elites doing everything they can to censor like new media. That's partially why I think they go after people like Joe Rogan and Russell Brand, and to some extent also like Jimmy Dore a lot, is because they realize that they're popular, people listen to them, and they're basically occupying a niche that the mainstream media would love to move into, but they're not going to be able to online. I think I don't think people are as into what Stuart Varney has to say on the new Fox News Online, or Brian Stelter as he tries to transition online. I think that they're very, very jealous, and they realize that they're going to have a hard time occupying a new online news media niche so long as these people like Rogan and Brand and Dore are occupying it so strongly. That's why they smear them so often. And the truth of the matter is that right around now, a lot of these comedians who also do the news are putting up numbers that are comparable to mainstream media. Like, it's off the charts. So that's why I think a lot of these people get smeared. That's why that's part of the propaganda play against new media, is just to take clips out of context and run with them to call people vaccine anti-vaxxers or horse paste eaters. It's just whatever they're grasping at straws, figuring out every way they can to try to smear these people, because they worry that they're gonna occupy that niche forever, and then mainstream media will never be able to transition online. And they should be afraid of that, because I think that's probably what's going to happen.
I agree with you 100% on that one. I really do. And there used to be this thing called, bodily autonomy. And why that ever got the war on drugs is why that really got, stripped from us. But I mean, that was in the Constitution. We could put in our bodies whatever we wanted to, and if we didn't want it in our bodies, we didn't have to take it into our bodies. And I'm vaccinated. I'm vaccinated. I fucking could care less. Who knows? That's my personal choice. If somebody has a problem with my personal choice and they want to force their personal choice on me, I'm going to tell them to fuck off. And I think anybody else should do the same. If you don't want the vaccine, don't get the fucking vaccine.
Right. And that's actually what I got banned for twice, what you just said. So I'm not going to say it again. I don't want to get us in any trouble, but I'll elaborate without using any flagged words. What I've always said, and that's what you just talked about, that phrase, that's the foundation of bioethics. Like, I took that in college. That's basically like you have to give people informed consent. And we are not well enough informed on the vaccines right now, the mRNA vaccines, to really give people informed consent. So that's what I got banned for. And I was just discussing, what I thought was the best way forward. And what I always say, and I'm double vaxxed as well. I've been pro-vaccine since the beginning. But what I've said on my show since the beginning is you're out of your mind if you think that you're going to get enough people vaccinated in this country with how hyper partisan we are and reactionary we are. If Trump is telling you to get vaccinated, all the neolibs are going to refuse. If Biden's telling you to get vaccinated, all the Trumpists are going to refuse. So it's a fool's errand to even aim to get everybody vaccinated. I've always said that, you need a perfect vaccine, meaning a sterilizing vaccine that does not allow the vaccinated to transmit the virus. And you need about 70 to 80% of people to get the double jab for it to work. That's a fool's errand. It's a fool's errand. So pragmatically, it is not a good plan. But the best way to try to get something like that is to educate your patients, educate people on the safety of vaccines as the data comes out. And then the second thing to do is to make sure that you recommend that if you have a comorbidity, you want to strongly kind of push that person. Like if you have a lung issue or leukemia or heart issues or something like that, where you are at a much higher risk of hospitalization or death, you really want to try to educate those people and try to push them to get it, because the risk for their death is high if they run into the wild type, right? But what a lot of pro-vaxxers will tell you is that there's no such thing as hybrid immunity or natural immunity, which they'll teach you that in grad school as well. Natural immunity is much, much stronger than vaccinated mediated immunity. So what I've always said is the best course of action, and I said this on Franco's show as well, is to get vaccinated. And then what will happen is that when you run into a wild type out in the wild, you will have less of a chance by a long shot of being hospitalized. But it is your choice. No one can make you do it. It's a medical decision, and it is a medical procedure. So that's what I've always said, try to educate. The more we educate, the better we'll have a chance of getting out of this. But as it turns out, and this is brand new information, the virus in a way is mutating so that it becomes less deadly. And it's circulating easier because it's becoming more transmissible. So it's becoming more and more like the flu in terms of its numbers. So what will eventually happen here is that it will wash over, whether we want it to or not. It's going to become endemic, right? Which means it's going to wash over the whole population. I've been saying that for about 3 or 4 months now, when it seemed apparent we weren't going to actually get ahead of this thing. Since we know that's the case, eventually here in about, 6 months, maybe a year, enough of the population will have been exposed to it, whether they're vaccinated or unvaccinated, that there will be a sort of herd immunity that takes over with naturally immune people. And then the virus will operate the way that the flu does, where it's seasonal. And they'll recommend you, if you're, if how with people that older people with the flu, right? We always say, get your flu shot if you can, but particularly if you're old, because the flu will make you very, very sick if you're old, right? It would be similar to that. And that's something we have to accept. Unfortunately, I think that there's no chance of getting out ahead of it right now. Even if you were to, with current vaccines, get everybody vaccinated, they're leaky vaccines, and they only last 5 or 6 months, according to a new study in the Lancet, among other studies, but this is the newest one in the Lancet. 5 to 6 months is all you get. So are we gonna, get a booster every 5 months forever? Every age group, everybody that doesn't have comorbidities? I don't see that ever happening. I don't see that ever happening in the United States. Whether I want it to or not is irrelevant. I just don't see it ever happening. So we have to be pragmatic in the way that we approach it. That's why I've talked about my theory. I wanted lockdowns early, but then no more. Not now. So the cat's out of the bag now. Lockdown was pragmatic back when it hit. Nowadays, it's it's useless to try lockdown. So we have to evolve, and we have to try something new. And just force browbeating people into getting vaccinated, I don't think is the way. I think it's a fool's errand.
I agree with you 100%. I'm sorry, but I've never seen a mule move when you're sitting there beating it.
Yeah.
Anything is going to move and climb on top of you. It's going to stomp you to death and fucking kill you.
Yeah, and so I just try to be reasonable. Just try to be reasonable with people.
Submission. It just ain't going to work. That's where you get, rebellions. And again, bodily autonomy, I'm a firm believer in it. And I'm not going to tell you what you got to do with your body. And I'm not going to listen to you when you tell me what to do with mine.
Exactly right. Now, and I've put a caveat in here too, to people like that don't know anything about science, but yet keep commentating on this stuff, like Ken Klippenstein and Kyle Kalinske. I can't go an hour without making fun of Kyle Kalinske.
I can't stand him. I
But
haven't for years. Oh
yeah,
my God.
I've always added the caveat: if this were like smallpox kills about 1/3 of the people it infects. So it's very much different. The mortality rate, and I want to say this is the infection, it's called the infection fatality ratio, which they don't use in America because they try to give misleading numbers on the deaths. The infection mortality ratio, which is the most accurate predictor of mortality via COVID, it says that it's about 0.5% it kills of the people it infects. And if you take out people with comorbidities, it drops way down lower than that, right? So smallpox and COVID are not the same. Same thing with DTaP, MMR, measles, mumps, rubella, diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis. All of those are the ones you get for like your kids to go to school, right? Whooping cough is pertussis. These diseases are much more dangerous than COVID is. And then the other thing is, and they won't admit this second thing either, is that those diseases are also not nearly as transmissible as COVID is. So it was easier to achieve herd immunity with something like smallpox. They had a better vaccine, it was less transmissible, and it killed 1 out of 3 people. Whereas in America, it's like 1 out of 200. But if then you take the comorbidities out, that number's way lower than even that. So we have to have a discussion on if this were smallpox, would we be trying to force vaccines? We probably would, but the thing is, we probably wouldn't have to, because everybody be so scared of such a deadly virus that everybody be lining up for vaccines. But we can see with our own eyes and the data nowadays that COVID is not, in fact, smallpox. It is not nearly that devastating. So people are like, you know what? If I'm taking my chances between what are possible side effects of the vaccine and possibility of running into like Omicron, which has a very low chance of killing you, the initial stats say that it's very, very mild of a disease, then that has to be left up to the patient. They have to be able to decide which one they want to go down. Now, if you had that same patient in your office and there's a smallpox epidemic and you go, listen, there's a vaccine that's really going to save your life, and there's a 1 in 3 chance you're going to die if you get smallpox. Everybody, after that sentence is done, goes, okay, you know what? It's a risk assessment. I don't want to die. And I can guarantee you that it's more dangerous to get smallpox than it is to get a vaccine for smallpox. It's an easy decision. But because COVID is really not nearly as dangerous as a lot of these people want you to think, people should definitely, in my opinion, be allowed to make that decision without coercion, as they please. And call me crazy. Like I said, it's a foundation of bioethics. That's I will die on that hill.
I would die on that hill with you.
And you're vax, I'm vax too. So it's not like they call me anti-vax all the time. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Dude, I got put on an anti-vax list on Twitter today.
Yeah, they do that shit to me all the time.
Have you even read any of my stuff? Because for the most part, I don't really talk about it. But when I do, I make it clearly known that I believe in bodily autonomy. This is what I chose for myself. You can choose whatever you want for you. Doesn't mean that I'm going to love you any less. And if you love me any less because of my choice, well, shove it up your butt.
Yeah. And also this is related and important, is that I think that a lot of this vax versus anti-vax thing is deliberately fomented by the establishment in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. They look for any reason they can to divide us, whether it be race or even, things like if you're pro-gun or anti-gun, if you're, in this case, vaccinated or unvaccinated, or which they label as anti-vax. The truth of the matter is that I think most Americans don't really give a damn whether you're vaccinated or not right now. They understand what COVID is to, a decent extent here, but there are people out there that like to foment division, divide us among that line, because it's very convenient for, in this case, like I would say the Democrats. They need like a scapegoat to make it look like they're not doing a bad job and fumbling COVID by not giving us Medicare for all, for instance. No, it's those naughty anti-vaxxers. They're the ones that are to blame. This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated was what they were rolling with like crazy. But now we have
Trying
evidence
to
that that's
villainize
not,
certain
in
groups
fact,
of
the
people.
case.
Yeah.
So in a way, the elites are using vaccine status as a way to divide people, and that's very convenient for them. And I think some people are they are in fact going hook, line, and sinker on that. A lot of even YouTubers that I previously thought were relatively good critical thinkers have gone down that rabbit hole, and they, whether they're being useful idiots or they actually know what they're doing, they are fomenting division along vaccine lines, and I don't like that whatsoever. I do my best to like make sure that we don't fear the unvaccinated, because there really is no reason to fear the unvaccinated. I don't understand that point of view whatsoever. Now, if they go out there and they refuse to get vaccinated, and if they run into Delta and they get hospitalized, and if you want to say, well, that's what you risked, that's fine. That's fine. I'm not against that at all. I wouldn't shame them, but I'd be like, you know what? You didn't want to get vaccinated. You ran into Delta. Now you're in the hospital, you know? But at the same time, I don't force people. I don't want to browbeat anybody. I just want to educate them. And these weird people, it's like anti-vax is like that new conspiracy theory word where they're like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. So they just use it to label people and make you look crazy, when really most of the people that are anti-vaccine mandate are looking at like Sweden and Norway and Denmark, who are essentially like opening up entirely right now and just giving boosters to the at-risk groups. All those, all those dum-dums over in Scandinavia, that what do they know, right?
For real. So Breezy just said it's dividing families, the whole anti-vax vax thing, or the anti-mask mask thing. And it is. It's dividing families even more than what Trump being in office divided families.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's literally fucking pitting all these different groups of people against each other. And now there's a subgroup because of the COVID thing. And it's exhausting. It's fucking exhausting. My mother died just a few months ago from COVID. She was an anti-vaxxer. She was also a Native American.
Yep.
So our tribe's being very, very careful about who they let into the reservation area. We have people who are standing guard at our borders, and they ask you, "What are you doing here? You don't live here. You just driving through. What's going on?" And I don't blame them whatsoever. I can't go on the res because of the fact that I live off res.
Yeah. And the solution to, like, in my opinion, the solution to COVID is, how about we do Medicare for all? You know what I'm saying? Like, at this point now, where the real experts think that maybe 50% of people in America have been infected so far. Now, that's not the data that they'll show. They'll show the case fatality ratio, not the infection fatality ratio. They're different. They say that there's been 49 million infections. No, that's 49 million cases where they've gotten positive results. So the number's much higher than that. So it's going to be endemic. It's going to wash over us right here. So while it washes over us, why not give Medicare for all? Why not talk about inexpensive treatments? Like, they won't tell you about Schmeiver-Schmeckten, which I won't say either because I don't want to get you tagged.
Yeah, dude, I've heard some good things about it today. As far as actual studies and stuff.
Yeah, there have been meta-analyses done on them. I've gone over 2 meta-analyses on my show, and they don't like that when I do that either. It's another reason I'm going to Rockfin. But so the question is that why are they pushing vaccines so hard when the solution to this virus becoming endemic, which it's going to, seems like Medicare for all? Well, that answer is easy. Joe Biden doesn't want to give you Medicare for all via executive order. He could do it via the Social Security Act, Section 1881 Alpha. He can do that unilaterally by himself, but he's not going to do that. That would impact the bottom lines of Big Pharma. Conversely, the bottom lines of Big Pharma get padded very much when you push something like vaccinations, which I read somewhere, I forget if it was Moderna or Pfizer, they're looking at like $33.5 billion off of their vaccines just upcoming next year. Like that's their projections. Over $33 billion. So you can see that there's a profit motive
There's a
in
huge profit motive.
pushing vaccines. Now, I'm not saying that is or isn't what they're doing, but it's mighty curious that we seem to be pushing vaccines so hard when it seems like the easiest and most pragmatic thing to do to help us get through this winter when it does wash over us is to give everyone health care and to look at the science on what drugs and treatments are actually helpful. But they're not looking at any of that stuff. If anything, they're actually demonizing a lot of cheap treatments. And no one's talking about Medicare for all because, Big Pharma is the biggest lobby group in the country. I wonder if that has something to do with the fact that they're pushing something that might make Moderna $33.5 billion next year. I'm just saying that's interesting. It's interesting to me.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And the Purdue fucking bastards should have gone to prison. They should have lost everything, and they should be sitting in prison. That makes me fucking sick. They because of them, I damn near died twice. I
Yeah.
my family's life was destroyed, and I've seen many other families' lives be destroyed because of what they did, and it's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, it's tough. And
They don't care about us.
yeah, and they'll act like we're crazy. We're the crazy ones because we, don't want to turn against our neighbor and question the official narrative on stuff like this. It's all a demonization campaign, a psyop against new online media that actually reports on the facts. And you know, you'll never hear about this stuff on mainstream media. You'll never hear about that stuff on mainstream media ever. And it sometimes, like, kind of coming back to what you were talking about earlier, I was just like, sometimes don't you wake up in the morning and just go, God damn, I'm tired of all this fighting. I'm tired of all of this, smearing. I'm tired of all this misinformation. It gets exhausting.
It
It
does.
really does. It gets exhausting going out there and reading about all this stuff. The other day I was reading about, I mean, it was Biden and his stay in Mexico border policy that he adopted from Trump. He's doing exactly the same thing at the border that Trump was doing. I saw that happening, and I was watching a little bit of the recap of the Maxwell trial, which is disgusting in and of itself. And then an article came out about how people that were trying to defend Andrew Cuomo decided to smear Lindsey Boylan, who accused him of sexual harassment and beyond, by using the same tactics that Joe Biden used to smear Tara Reid.
Yep.
So I was like, they literally have like a playbook for smearing sexual harassment and sexual assault victims. So I'm like absorbing this as the day goes on, and I'm finding myself now more and more where I get like minor panic attacks, and like where I'm reading horrible headline after horrible article after, and it gets overwhelming. So I understand, man. I there have been times recently where I felt like burnt out, where I have to like get away from my phone and get away from politics for a while, because it's just, I almost never see any good news. It's it's almost always bad news, and disgustingly bad news.
Yep. I agree. I agree. And it's I don't know if it's because things are actually getting worse, or if um information is hitting people faster because of the internet, and because
Right.
so many people are still either out of work or um just like working strictly on their computers. They're helping share that information that they're getting from people who are on the ground. I mean, I've had a few friends overseas who were in Yemen, who were going through some shit, and to hear it firsthand is way different than hearing it on the news. It is
Oh, it's
way
heart
different than hearing it on the news. It's way harder to hear,
it's heartbreaking.
and it's frustrating because you just feel so fucking helpless. But hey, it is 6:55, dude. Your daughter is owed some daddy time, so you've got to
Yeah.
get fucking lost.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay on for a while because I got a few people who wanted to come up.
Cool.
But thank you so much for coming by and talking about all this crap with me. I appreciate it.
Hey, I had a great time. We could do it again sometime for sure. Like I said, I'm going to be stepping back a little bit. I've got a side grift where I'm finally making a little bit of money, and I'm putting that towards Project Home, which I'm trying to do. I don't know if you've heard about that. I talked about a couple weeks ago on my show where I'm talking about trying to build a commune here that helps end homelessness in my hometown. And I've been trying
Yes.
to figure out a way to do that, but I've had to figure out a way to raise capital. I think I have. So I'm working on that. I'm going to be backing off of YouTube a little bit. And I'm going to be backing off of Twitter for my own mental health too. Like dude, Twitter's a hellhole. I've
Yeah,
only been on there a year and
my
I can't stand it.
you see how often I'm on there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm stepping back on that stuff too. It's really quite soul crushing. But yeah, you take care of yourself there, Noli. Thank you for having me very much. We'll do it again sometime soon.
Definitely. We'll see you. So, Liberty Freak, what are you doing? Joe. So I hope that you guys enjoyed Robert. I think he's an amazing guy. He's honest and there is no political side of the spectrum that he won't go after. And I that's something I really enjoy about his channel because he'll rip into AOC and he'll rip into Trump and he'll rip into Biden and he'll rip into all of them, dude. He's great. But when the bullshit is spread, that we all, most of us here understand that it's not, there's not two sides, there's not two teams working around there in Washington. It's the same team wearing two different jerseys. Chris, I did hesitate, but I had to travel, and at that point I had already lost enough people that I just didn't want to put my daughters through losing me. So I did what I thought was best. I will tell you what, though, for about 4 months after I got that vaccine, I could not take a full breath. I don't know if anybody else went through that, but I did, and it freaked me out. It freaked me out pretty fucking bad, actually. Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and post this because I know that. Oh my god, wrong freaking. I'm sorry, I have two computers going here, and so I don't know what I'm doing. Don't tell anybody, please. Chris, Powers, I just wanted to let you know that I am using my new computer. And I'm so afraid of the damn thing that I keep fucking shit up. Mike, that's fucking hilarious. Oh my god. Yeah, there has been. There has been, and it's well, COVID. It affects your organs, all your vital organs, in a horrible way. And I'm slightly concerned that the vaccine may also do the same thing, and nobody's really looking into it. But that's just my opinion, and that's just because of how I felt afterwards, and for so long. I mean, I can take a full breath now, but and my booster didn't do that to me, but I don't know. I don't know. I know that I made that decision. It was hard for me to make that decision. I don't trust the government at all. Um, I don't even trust local government. Which, by the way, so I put in a FOIA request for my city's all the 5 months were the most recent 5 months of their credit card history, all their banking account history, and their investment account history. And for some reason, they're having a hard time getting it to me. It's late by like 3 weeks. Oh, and I got dicked around so badly down there in Denver trying to get a copy of the audio transcript to Eric's hearing that I contacted the Secretary of State, and they are getting it for me because I showed them. I was just like, see here, look, I've applied for this crap like 5 times now. I have called. I spent all day on the phone, several days in a row, getting just jostled around from one place to another, always getting sent back to the same place where I go straight to voicemail and nobody calls me back. Joe, that's right. Let's go, Brandon. But super frustrating. I haven't, I had an easier time getting my FOIA request fulfilled on the I can't think of his name. The young man that was starved, or not starved to death, but dehydrated to death in jail down there in Georgia. Nine days, no food and water. I think he got one meal when he first got in there, and that was it. I don't affiliate with a party. I don't. I think I'm as close as you can be to being an anarchist without being an anarchist. Did I see what? No, I didn't see it. Taz, I agree with that. Polly, oh my god. Yes, I'm a nulitarian. I fucking love it, Liberty. Are you coming up here? Why aren't I know I fucking there we go. Is there anybody else that's not blue? If so, please say something so I can make you blue. Liberty Freak, I really think you should come up here and talk to everybody a little bit. A little bit, a little bit. Sixth Estate, it is so good to see you. What the fucking hell, man? Oh, he is? Tell him I said kiss my butt. I'm coming to see him in the spring. So is Tay and Steven. We're going to go down together. I just keep saying error. Please try again. Is it because I've added too many? Stupid thing. I'm going to break it. I just want to break it. Holy shit, Clash in Canada. You know it's good to see you, man. It is fucking good to see you. That's right. Brant Davidians unite. Oh, come on. Quit being lame. I am doing pretty, if I complain, I would sound petty. And I don't want to sound petty. So I won't. Grr! It won't let me mod you. It keeps saying error. I think it's because I've modded too many today. Did this to me a while back too. So I guess the next time I go live. Well, god damn it. Dude, get up here. As soon as Eric's off the phone, get up here. Or bring Eric with you. You could bring him with you. We would all love that. We love his voice. What do you guys think? You guys want to hear Eric's voice, right? I know I do. I need to email him and let him know that I have a different number. I hope it doesn't get me bumped down the list again. Yeah, dude, they all belong in Gitmo, Doc. Every last one of them. I'm talking from like small town fucking podunk mayors all the way up to POTUS. They all need to be sent to Gitmo, and then we can give Gitmo back to the Cubans. And just kind of like, here, you have our problem. It's what America does, right? Oh, Pugface is driving. Indy Left News, good to see you. Thank you for coming in. You know, I'm going to try and do it with you and see if it works. What the fuck? No, my channel still hates you for some reason, Liberty Freak. I don't know why. No, god damn it. What the hell? Why? Why is it doing this? I'll do it the long way after I log off. Oh, come on, let go. I'm sorry, guys. I'm struggling with this freaking thing. Yeah, this is weird. Am I frozen? Okay. Yeah, or a dish would be fine, but do you really want to bury that many bodies or, smell that many dead bodies? That's super yucky. Yeah, we are done. And since Liberty Freak's not coming up, I'm going to go ahead and jump off myself because I have this bomb-ass dinner sitting here, and it's getting freaking cold, and I got fried bread sitting over here, and I want to eat it, but I can't, eat on camera because that shit drives me crazy. Especially when somebody eats crunchy food, and they're, in their microphone. Oh, my God, I just want to fucking reach through and choke them the fuck out. There's a name for it or whatever, but I don't remember what the hell it is. It's like a mental fucking problem. Yeah, you do, Lynn. Hey, you guys. So tomorrow night on the Real News Network at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, Liberty Freak is going to be interviewed by Taya and Steven. So make sure and swing by and check it out because, Taya's my Wonder Woman and Steven's my Superman. All right. I love you guys. Have a wonderful night. And thank you very much. I will enjoy my dinner. I can't wait to get down on it. I really fucking need it. But all right, guys. I love you. Bye.